Hello, welcome back to Java and Joy. We are kicking off a brand new December mini series, which is going to be all about reflecting and renewing. And to kick it off strong, this episode is going to be about protecting your peace during the holidays. So, how to guard your joy before 2026 begins. So, before we get started, pull up a comfy seat, get you some Java, get ready to take in the joy one sip at a time. Take a deep breath, release all the things that do not serve you right now so that you can spend this time on you and you alone. So, let's get moving. All right. So, this is such an important thing to talk about right now going into the holidays. People are high stress in December. Plus, you're already trying to plan your whole nother year on top of everything you're being thrown at, right now in December. So it's just a lot. It's a lot. And that's why it's so incredibly important to protect your peace, even more so now than any time of the year. I mean, it's important all the time, but right now it gets harder to do it. So here's where we're going to start. I first want to explain why your piece has to come first. So here's the truth. You can have all the goals and make vision boards and planners and say you're going to start these new routines and whatever. But if you don't have peace, none of that is going to stick. Peace is your foundation. It's your emotional clarity. It is your confidence. It's going to help you make decisions better. It's going to allow you to have healthy relationships, find purpose. Protecting your peace is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And entering the new year without guarding it, it's like you're constantly trying to build a home on sand. I mean, think about that. If you're trying to build a home on sand, it's never going to be stable. It's going to keep crumbling. Like every time you try to build here, it's going to crumble over here. So if you don't have enough foundation and enough stability, then think about it as all the little things that are going to be thrown at you all the time are going to keep pulling you back down. They're just going to keep melting away. You're going to be putting in so much, but then the other things are going to be tearing it back down. So it's so important to protect your peace. And I know some people are probably like, I don't even know what protecting my peace means other than just making sure I'm happy. And that's where we're really going to dive in here is how do you protect your peace? And when I think of protect your peace, think of it as literally guarding your joy. What is keeping you from your happiness? What is keeping you from being your best you? Those are the things that we have to focus on to protect our peace. So, step one in protecting your peace is you have to identify your peace breakers. Before you can protect the peace, you have to know who's stealing it, what is stealing it. So, you're going to have to ask yourself some questions here. Things like, what leaves me drained? Or who leaves me drained? Is there a certain person or a task that every time you complete it or walk away from them, you feel worse off? You feel tired, drained, more stressed, more anxious for having either been around that person or took part in that task. Now, obviously, there's tasks that can't be avoided. We all got to go to work, right? We all got to do the dishes. We all got to do the laundry. But that doesn't mean that everything you're taking on is a necessity. And that doesn't mean that we can't learn to delegate. And we're going to go into that too. But right now, I want you to just really think about what habits leave me stressed. What responsibilities am I carrying and doing that are draining me that maybe could be shared? What are you currently tolerating that maybe you've outgrown? Maybe it's something that didn't stress you out last year. Maybe it's something you really enjoyed, but all of a sudden it's no longer serving you. It's no longer filling your cup. It's starting to feel more like a chore than it is a fun activity. Here's a great example, and this is one that I came across. I used to love taking baths. That was like a ritual that really recharged my batteries for me. And then all of a sudden, I started feeling so drained from taking a bath. The thought of having to rinse out the tub and fill up the water and add the stuff and then clean it up afterwards and the time it took to fill the tub, like all of a sudden it was like I wasn't looking forward to it anymore. It felt like more work than pleasure. So for a while, I just kept going, oh, I'm still going to take the bath. I've always taken the bath. It always makes me feel better. This, I'll be fine, like whatever. But I noticed after, doing that X amount of times, I'm like, okay, this isn't getting better. I'm not enjoying this. And it feels like a task. It feels like a chore. So guess what? I'm going to stop taking baths for a while. And maybe it's not permanent. Maybe, 3 months from now, I'm like, man, you know what? I really am ready to take a bath. Right. But I recognize that it wasn't serving me like it used to. And so I decided that we're going to have to like remove that self-care habit because it's only self-care if it fills a cup. It's only self-care if it makes you feel good. If it's tied to anything negative, it's no longer self-care. You can just remove it from your options of self-care list that you may have that you go to. So this is what I mean by like identifying the things that drain you, even if maybe they once didn't, and write them down. Write down the people who drain you, the tasks that drain you, the current self-care activities that might start draining you. And I want you to write them down. And I know it feels like you're just making this like negative list, but it's necessary. It's really and truly necessary because now you can go through that list and say, what can I eliminate and what can I delegate? Because I guarantee you, you're going to find at least one thing and probably more that you can either remove or delegate. That's going to happen. I promise you. You'll find something that you're like, you know what? I don't have to be doing that. So and so can do that for me. Or I don't need to do that at all. I'm not even enjoying it. And maybe find multiple things that you didn't even realize, altogether were really draining you. One small thing here and one small thing here doesn't seem like a lot, but you start adding things up and it's like a domino effect, right? It just builds and it builds and it becomes instead of multiple little, pebbles, it becomes one giant boulder just kind of setting on you, weighing you down. So it's so important we're going to identify our peace breakers first. And I want you to write that list. Okay. Step two, here is where you're going to set your non negotiables. So this is going to require some boundary setting. If you aren't good at doing, boundaries for yourself, go back and listen to my building boundaries episode. But boundaries are not walls. And I think a lot of people like feel bad putting up boundaries or saying no without guilt. And here's how I want you to kind of reframe your mind on this. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors. You can choose when and how to open them and when and how to close them. Does that make sense? They're not permanently locked doors, they're just a door. And you choose when, where, how, and who to open them for, and all the things. So one week you may have the capacity to open a few more doors, and another week you may not. And you learn to show yourself grace and to set the boundaries, knowing that you are overwhelmed at that time. And it could be a whole month, maybe it's not a week, but it also could just be one day where you're like, today I'm setting a boundary and I'm closing all the doors. I'm closing all the doors today, or at least some of the doors. And then you choose when to reopen them. That's what setting boundaries is really, truly about. And saying no without guilt is a skill. But one thing you can learn to say, and I've said this in previous episodes, is you don't just say no, because that just sounds harsh and icky and it doesn't feel good to say it. It doesn't feel good to hear it, right? So instead, you can say, hey, I'm sorry, I just don't have the capacity for that right now. But if something opens up or if time allots or allows, I will let you know. And that sounds so logical and real and raw and relatable, people are going to understand where you're coming from. And it doesn't just sound like you're just saying no. It's being honest and open and authentic. So learn to say no without the guilt. And that's how you're going to set those boundaries. Okay. Also, setting boundaries with yourself. Like, don't let yourself skip your morning routine or your bedtime. This is the big one. Like, if you know you have to be asleep at 9 o'clock in order to be a good functioning version of yourself the next day, then you have to set the boundary of I'm going to bed at 10 or 9 o'clock. And that boundary extends to anyone else in the household, or that could disrupt that for you. But it has to be a boundary that you commit to yourself and that you extend to anyone who may interfere with that. That is also a boundary. You're making a commitment to rest, which is a commitment to your health. And you are going to wake up being a better version of you tomorrow, a better mom, wife, employee, daughter, whatever, if you get proper rest. So learn to set boundaries where you can cut off drama, chaos, any emotional dumping people want to throw at you. And you're going to remember that you have to set those boundaries. And here's the thing, you're going to have to tell yourself, my peace is my responsibility, because it is. So here's a little joy journal prompt for you. What boundaries support my peace going into the new year? And think about that. That way you can go into the new year with a nice, clean slate. But remember, your peace is your responsibility. At the end of the day, you have the power to take control and navigate your life and place those boundaries, open doors, close doors whenever you feel like you need to. Give yourself permission to protect your own peace. All right. Step 3. Here's where we're going to release what we cannot carry into 2026. Some things just can't come with you into the new year. This step is an emotional, but it's a powerful, powerful step. Maybe you need to release resentment, comparison, guilt. Maybe you need to release a friendship or relationship that no longer aligns. Maybe you need to release the pressure that you put on yourself to be everything for everyone. Maybe you need to release the idea that you have to earn rest rather than you need rest, or learn that letting go isn't losing. Learning to create space for yourself, learning to create boundaries, right? So things you're going to need to let go of going into the new year so that you can make room for what you're meant to receive. So if you know you constantly compare yourself to other people, you need to start making a commitment to yourself that we're just going to release that. We're going to release it. And we're going to do a visual exercise with that. And I've actually talked about this in some of my morning sip of the days. So you're going to picture just some butterflies hanging out next to you. And each one of those butterflies are going to represent something that you want to release and let go of going into 2026. And you're going to pick one of those. So let's say I am going to release resentment. You're going to say that out loud and you're going to picture one of those butterflies taking that and flying away. I release my resentment going into 2026. You say that and you watch the butterfly leave. Take another butterfly. I am going to release my need to compare myself. No more comparison going into 2026. And you watch that butterfly flutter away. This is so powerful, you wouldn't believe. Just watching, visualizing the things that you're letting go of, leaving your presence, you will feel a physical and mental weight lifted from you. Visualization is, I mean, scientifically proven to be effective, time and time again. So, and I mean, who doesn't want to picture pretty butterflies all the time? It's going to make you feel good, right? So I want you to say those things, watch them release, and keep telling yourself, what I release makes room for what I'm meant to receive. Because we can only take on so much. We got to start clearing up some space here, right? It is what it is, so that we can fill it with things that actually serve us and that we actually want in our life. So we're going to release what we cannot carry into 2026. That is your third step. Step four, creating routines that regulate you. You can create so much peace and protect it by creating daily rhythms and routines that ground you. So think about slow mornings. Maybe it's a quiet cup of coffee. Now's a good time for a sip, right? Maybe it's a 5 minute breathing break. Maybe it's your nighttime skincare routine that is super self-soothing. Maybe it's a weekly no plan zone. So you're going to say, for this 2 hours on this day every week, I'm planning nothing and I'm going to do whatever I want for that 2 hours. Movement that feels gentle and joyful. That's a great routine to have. Your routine doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to feel like there are moments of peace. If it can bring calm, clarity, comfort, then it belongs in your routine. So really start thinking like, what routines can regulate me? And here's what I do personally. Here's a couple of mine to kind of get your creative wheel kind of moving. I start my morning every morning with a gratitude journal, a mini devotion, and a short Bible study. And then I listen to a praise song every morning. It's the first thing I do before I check social media, before I look at news, before I check what the weather's going to be, before I do anything. That is what I do. That is how I set my mindset for my entire day. The last thing I do is my skincare routine. And I usually turn on some music. I like dim lights. Sometimes I might light a candle. And I just really enjoy the warm water on my face, the soft towels, the massaging of the skincare products. And I'm really present while I do it. And then I do another mini devotional before I go to sleep. And those two things like are the ways that I book in my day that make me feel complete from start to finish. All the chaos is in between, just like everyone else. But I like the fact that I'm starting and ending with peace, with joy. So you create your perfect morning. You create your perfect night. Maybe you only need one or the other. I like both. Brownie points if you do both. So that's what I'm saying though when I say create routines that regulate you. They kind of ground you. They bring you back center and calm you amongst all the chaos of your days. So create those routines that regulate you. That is a must do going into the new year. Step five. Here's what we're going to fill our life with what feeds our joy. And this is like not just protecting your peace by removing things, but we're going to add things that lift us. And we're going to start asking ourselves questions like, what brings me joy consistently? What makes me feel alive? What have I been neglecting that I want to do more in 2026? I mean, really think about it. What commitments did you make to yourself that you're like, I'm going to do more of that this year, or I'm really going to get this together this year, or I'm going to hit this goal this year that completely got lost in the wave of life? That just you got detoured from, thrown off the path, and it just didn't happen. And these can be very small things. These do not have to be like a life changing, like huge goals or self transformations. This could be as simple as I want to start reading more books, or I want to start painting, or a new hobby, or maybe you wanted to get closer in your faith, deeper in your faith, and it just didn't happen for you. Maybe you wanted to redecorate a room in your house or beautify your routine or hey, throw in that skincare ritual, right? Maybe it's just you just need to think about like what joy was I trying to add in or I really wanted to add in that I didn't get to, or maybe you have new ideas that you weren't planning this year that are just coming to you now, maybe while you're listening to this podcast, or maybe as you reflect on this podcast, you start thinking about things that you'd like to really try. Maybe, there's a certain book that you've been putting off, right? So when you're guarding your peace, you're also feeding your joy at the same time. So you don't want to just remove things and set the boundaries and close the doors and all that, right? You want to start adding in things that serve you, adding in things that fill all those different self-care cups. And what I mean by self-care cups is your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual self cups, all the self cups, right? Try to pick one thing that goes in every one of those categories, right? That will fill that cup for you on a regular basis. Those are the things that you want to add into the next year if any of those cups are not full. And maybe none of those cups are full right now. Maybe they are running pretty dry. So think about how you can fill those cups. And those are the things you're going to add in to 2026. So you're going to fill your life with what feeds your joy. Doesn't that sound lovely? Like how, I mean, really picture yourself letting go of all the things that don't serve you, closing all those doors, and then opening new ones with all the things that you picture yourself doing that you haven't, and picture yourself like really doing them. Picture yourself snuggled up in a blanket in a corner reading a book you've been wanting to read. Picture yourself cooking that recipe that you have had sitting somewhere, talking to you like, hey, come cook me, that you haven't done. Picture yourself trying something new, whatever. Picture yourself decorating that room. Picture yourself doing those. Does that not excite you? Does that not make you really look forward to a new year? I mean, it does me. It truly, truly does me. So that's what I want you really picturing and planning. Start making a list of things you can fill your life with to feed your joy. So those are your 5 steps on how to protect your peace. Who's on board for protecting their peace now? Doesn't it sound amazing? I love talking this because, like I said, protecting your peace automatically helps you find your joy. And since that's literally always my goal, is to find the joy and help others find their joy, protecting your peace just makes that happen kind of automatically. So, here is your protecting your peace protocol summary. 1, identify your peace breakers. 2, set non negotiable boundaries. Close those doors, people. Doesn't have to be forever. 3, release what you cannot carry forward. 4, create routines that regulate and restore you. 5, rebuild your life with joy at the center. Feed that joy. And this is how you're going to enter 2026 grounded, not scattered, not drained. You're going to be peaceful, not overwhelmed. And you're going to be joyful. And you're not going to be running on fumes, feeling fatigued. You're going to feel like your cups are full. You're going to feel like you are living, not just surviving. And that is huge. That is a huge change in your life. And in my opinion, probably one of the most powerful transformations you can make is to start living instead of surviving. How you get there is different for everyone. But at the end of the day, if you can just change that, suddenly you have your joy and you're living a good life and you're loving getting up every day and looking forward to what's next. Sound good? We're all going to go protect our peace now, right? I'm curious too. Please, if you're listening to me on, YouTube, podcast platforms, send me a comment. Let me know what doors you're closing this year and let me know what doors you're opening next year. I would love to hear what boundaries, things you're doing, what you're doing to protect your peace, what you're doing to feed your joy. I would love to know those things. So, as we close this episode today, I do want you to remember something. Again, peace is a choice. Joy is a practice, and you deserve both fully. Repeat that to yourself as many times as you need. But I want to leave you on that comment. And that's what I have for you. So, thank you for joining me on another episode of Java and Joy. I hope today's conversation brought a little joy into your day. If you love this episode, keep the joy going. Be sure to send it to a friend who needs a reminder to protect their peace. Also, come hang out with me on social media. You can find me basically everywhere at Beauty by Carla Joy. That is Carla with a K. And if you're ready to take the next step on your joy journey, visit my website, beautybycarlajoy.com/coach. That's beautybycarlajoy/coach. Again, Carla with a K. You can explore my free resources there. You can see my life coaching packages and explore more ways to bring joy into your everyday life. And if you're listening on a podcast platform or YouTube, all of my links will be in the show notes. If you were listening to us live on the radio, head on over to that beautybycarlajoy.com/coach website. And until next time, protect your joy, guard your peace, and step boldly into the new year. I'll see you on the next episode. Go find your joy.